Chapters 16, 17, and 18 of Shri Krishna, the Lord of Love, by Baba Premanand Bharati. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 16. In those days when love was predominant and held no place for that which overcame and destroyed that which could not hold sway, there, because when love is strong and active, then doth evil become feeble and weak, and slinketh away into darkness and deep places where the light of love cannot reach in to reveal its blackness unto the light of the sky. In the river on whose bank Krishna, Rama, and the cowherd boys often sat and sang the deeds of their hero, there dwelt a huge serpent monster with 1,000 hoods, who by the venom of his hideous body did permeate the water of the lake with deadly poison, and fill the air of the vicinity with a pestilent atmosphere that was deadly in its influence. Krishna one day led the boys and cows to this pool, and they, being athirst, drank of the deadly water that lay still and without a ripple. Ever is evil inviting in its outward calm. But lo, in an instant the 1,000-headed monster lifted its hoods, and the deadly poison having done its ghastly work, the boys and cows lay on the bank, lifeless and motionless. They fell at the feet of Krishna. With a glance of life-giving love cast upon the dead ones, Krishna walked to a tree that was close by, while the boys, alive again, in amazement and wonder, gazed at each other, forgetting in the joy of the love, in the look that Krishna had cast upon them the moment before. On reaching the top of the tree, Krishna stood for an instant and gazed at the boys, his world, and the serpent, and a light as of molten gold seemed to come from that body, more lovely than the sun to look upon. Thus it was for a moment. Then into the deadly pool he plunged, while the 1,000 heads of the serpent darted their venomous tongues and struck the body till the boys fell into unconsciousness, and the cows groaned in pain, and the men and women, with eyes bulging with fear and tearing their hair, almost swooned at the sight of the boy, who was God, crushed in the poisonous embrace of the monster. Yet even as stricken with horror they gazed. Krishna a glance like light on them cast, and breaking away from the grasp of the monster, he lightly sprang upon its hooded head, and danced like the stars upon its hoods, till one by one low they were laid, and vomiting blood that was thick and black, defeated and broken, the monster sank beneath the waves. And with a bound Krishna stood in the midst of his friends who knelt at his feet. Then they drew him within their arms in the madness of joy at his safety. Chapter 17. Oh, grand was the sight of love, crushing out hate from the land, and the gods sang and shouted and crowded together to see sin conquered and virtue grow strong. Yasoda and Nanda, with the Gopas and Gopis, maddened with delight, took Krishna home, while the heavens opened and scattered flowers to carpet his path. And forever the lake was free from the venom the serpents had cast, and the nearby atmosphere purified was from the pestilent influence that hovered about there, for the monster at Krishna's command had departed, and sought no more to injure the land. But so great was the happiness that overflowed the heart of all, in leading the boy triumphant through the forest, that they tarried a while in the glow of the moon, in their joy to behold the beauty that filled the night. But far in the distance a light was seen, that spread wider and broader its glow, and higher its flame leaped, and every second nearer and nearer yet it came, like a living sheet of fire. And so it was. A castor plantation, a burning world had become, and quickly surrounded the merrymakers, who held in their midst the joy of their hour, and they cried in affright, O Krishna, thou child, or God, whatever thou art, protect us from this death in this roaring flame. We care not for our lives, O Krishna, for they are thine by our love for thee, but oh, the anguish the parting would mean, to die and not see thy face again. O thou who by thy strength dost slay the asuras, and drive from the land the serpent all-powerful, save us from this, the parting with thee and thy loved companion Rama, he that is most like thee. O most lovely one, deliver us, we pray. Light as a leaf in the wind, the boy bounded to meet the coming flames. For a moment he stood in the seething sea of fire, and lifted his hand on high, and lo, the fire was not, but the flames were seen to enter his mouth. And again with dancing and singing praise to the boy, they made for his home with joy and delight. Chapter 18. One summer day Krishna and Rama and their companions, in the shade of the trees, were sporting among themselves, when they saw coming toward them a stranger, a boy, clad as a tender of cows. He joined in the games, and soon all were merry, but Krishna, the knower of all, and the all-seeing one, in him beheld an asura named Pralamba, who had come in their midst to bring calamity, though friendship he feigned. Krishna proposed a game to be played by dividing the boys into equal numbers and fighting in sport one with the other. Krishna was chosen the leader on one side, and Rama the leader on the other. The defeated side, it was proposed, must carry on their backs the winners of the victorious side, and so the play began. Krishna's side was defeated, and it was ordered that, among others, Pralamba the asura carry Rama on his back. Away went the boys, each defeated, one carrying on his back a winner. Suddenly the boys heard Rama's voice shouting to them, and behold, the asura, by black magic power, a giant had become and was flying through the forest with Rama on his back. Krishna looked at them, then shouted to Rama, Brother, forget not that thou art Vishnu, and that I am here. In an instant all fear left the heart of Rama, and remembering who as what he was filled with almighty power, and felled the giant with a heavy blow, and the play went on as before. Another time the cows strayed into the forest and were overtaken by a great conflagration, and like wild beasts they leaped and bellowed through the forest. The boys followed and called, but onward the cows plunged, nor heeded their voices, till Krishna's voice they heard. Then turning they gathered about him, seeing naught but the love and power in his eyes. For the brood is ever still by the might of love. Unlike man, it knoweth its power, and yieldeth to its force. But the boys still turned towards Krishna, full of fear of the conflagration that threatened to envelop them. He looked at them all, and their fear was allayed. Then he gazed at the fire, and asked the boys their eyes to close. This they did, and when they looked again, the flames were no more to be seen. Such was the yoga power of Shri Krishna, and the boys, seeing his wonderful acts, knew that Krishna was more than boy. And joyous were they, and gathered flowers and leaves that grew in great abundance at the foot of the trees, and they all wove them into garlands of white, purple, and red, and wound them about Krishna's neck, and also bedecked each other with flowers, and threw wreaths about the cows' necks and the calves, and homeward they wended their way in the twilight, just as the sun was sinking to rest. The birds ceased their sleepy chirp, and opened their eyes wide, and sleep left the flowers that nodded near the roadside, and the sun stood in space a moment to watch the procession that galloped down the road. Krishna the beautiful came in the lead, bedecked and beflowered. The spirit of life he was, with a transfiguring glory in his face, and his eyes full of softness and love light, his body all graceful in curves to behold, yet strong in the vigor of youth that shone through its grace. With his hands on the necks of his two favorite cows, those who ever followed him about as a child, the white on his right side, the black on his left, homeward they ran, while the white dust arose and covered and caressed them, one after the other, each bedecked with garlands, and each boy between two cows who like them were wreathed with wild flowers. And the elder gopis and gopas held their breath at the sight so entrancing, that reached their eyes at the homecoming of the boys and their cows, bedecked and beflowered with the sweet wild flowers, and headed by him whom they loved. End of chapter 18.